I love cheesy Christmas romances. It's my favorite. If you're joining me via podcast, welcome back to the All Right Already podcast. And if you're joining me on YouTube, hi, welcome back to my channel. I do have my puppy Percy joining us today. He was absolutely refusing to let me record any content without him starring in it, so he is going to be chilling here, I guess. But today I am so excited to be bringing you the 12 books of Christmas, or I guess the 12 books of the holiday season, because a lot of these are not specifically Christmas. It is just holiday vibes, winter time. Some do feature Christmas specifically, some do not, but I'm going to be giving you my 12 recommendations, most of which I have actually read before, though a few are new on my TBR for this year. And I do have to apologize, my upstairs neighbors are quite literally moving furniture right now, so I'm not sure how greatly that will impact the audio. I'm really hoping not, fingers crossed, but if you hear little bumps and drops, it's because I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're moving out. The very first one that I have for you guys is Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. I think this is such a great book. This was one of my first that I read last year, and last year was really my first year reading like Christmassy rom-coms. This one's so much fun because not only is it all the winter Christmas vibes, it's also like giving a little bit of Daisy Jones and the Six / Fleetwood Mac vibes. In this, our female and male main characters are both children of two members of a 80s rock band, and they are kind of forced to get together in order to bring the Christmas cheer to their audience and fans. And it's a lot of fun, really sweet, and like all Tessa Bailey, surprisingly spicy, which we are certainly not mad about whatsoever. So I think it's a great pick. It's a great book. You'll definitely enjoy it. And because we're talking Tessa Bailey, we obviously have to mention her other holiday book called Window Shopping. I didn't love this book, so it's not formally making the top 12 recommendation. I know a lot of people do enjoy it. I thought it was enjoyable. It was sweet. It just wasn't my favorite by any means. It just didn't have that special something that I'm always looking for. And then staying on theme of Rockstar Christmas, we also have All I Want for Christmas by Maggie Knox. I really thought this one was a lot of fun too. This book definitely has a very similar vibe to the Tessa Bailey one. Oh, hi Percy. In the sense that they are both singers who are trying to have a Christmas pageant for their fans. This one's a little bit more of like competition going on, a little bit of forced proximity. It's very cute. I don't remember it being super spicy. I think there's like a little kick to it, but nothing that's going to burn your mouth. And that is going to bring me my first TBR book of the year. This is The Christmas Cookie Wars. I honestly just thought the cover super cute. I don't know a ton about the story, but like the premise is that there is a bake-off, so like I'm sold. But reading a little bit off the back of the book, it looks like there is a single mother. She's a widow and she is trying to bring a lot of Christmas joy to her sons, and she has to team up with their school principal in order to win this bake-off. Oh no, it looks like they are fully in competition, which is even better. So it looks really sweet. I'm really excited to read it, and I can update once I know what I think. Another one from last year that I absolutely loved was the Xmas Christmas. This one's actually foreign. It takes place in the Scottish Highlands, which I didn't realize that they had a ski resort in Scotland, but I think this is super cool to get a little bit of a different perspective of a different country's holiday. This is a second chance romance. They used to date and then they run into each other under like crazy circumstances, of course. And it's also workplace romance and forced proximity because they end up working at the same ski resort that they used to work at and initially fell in love again together this year. I really enjoyed this one. This one has it's a really fun premise, but it has a surprising amount of heart. I remember I did cry a little at the end just because it was cute. And then on the spice meter, I'm going to say low, but not 0. Like there's a pretty good scene in there, but it is just a single scene from what I remember. Maybe don't quote me on that. Then we have a book that I think is a instant holiday classic. This is Love Light Farms. This is the first in a series of 4 books. I have read all but the last book in this series now, and I really enjoyed all of them, but this is the only one that's like Christmas specific. Or I shouldn't even say Christmas specific, but like winter season specific. If you can't tell from the cover and the name, it does take place on a Christmas tree farm, and the FMC, she acquires this farm, which is her childhood dream, and she wants to really make it something special again and invest money into it, which requires her winning a competition from an influencer. But in order to sell the fact that it's a love story, she recruits her longtime best friend to play her fake boyfriend, and romance ensues. This one was really enjoyable. I want to say it wasn't my favorite in this series, but I forget which of the next two was my favorite. And also I should say that even though the next two books don't take place during Christmas time on the Christmas tree farm, it does directly follow characters who are established from this book, and it does take place still on the Christmas tree farm. So even though it's less Christmassy vibes, you could definitely start this book during this month and then continue with the series and not be taken out of the holiday state of mind. Another one that I'm really looking forward to, my Target sticker's still on here. Target was having a buy two get one sale for Black Friday, so you already know that I bought two and I got one. How can you not when it's literally free? Anywho, round two. We have All I Want Is You by Fallon Ballard. I've read several of her books now, not this one yet, and not all of them, I don't think. However, I have read quite a few of her books now. I really enjoyed all of them. They're really small, easy reads typically, but every single one I just had a really good time, so I'm really looking forward to this one as well. It looks like this one is about second chance romance. It's two authors. They are both romance authors who kind of specialize in a happy ending and a not so happy ending, and they are put into a position, forced proximity, for them to reconnect over the holiday season. What if he is really all she wants for Christmas? I love cheesy Christmas romances, it's my favorite. Jumping back to Hollywood Christmas romances, there is It Happened One Christmas by Chantel Guertin? G-U-E-R-T-I-N? Guertin? My name is Giordano, so I feel like I shouldn't be having as hard of a time with her name as I am, but this is another one that I read last year and I really enjoyed. Basically, she is trying to get the script of her Hallmark movie into production, so they arrive at a charming small town in which she wrote the script for, but when they arrive, she's having a really hard time with the grumpy mayor of the town getting everything that she needs in order for the filming to take place. So it's definitely reluctant romance. They go head to head quite a few times, but again, this one has a surprising amount of heart for how cute the story is. And then moving right along with the same theme, we have A Holly Jolly Christmas by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. This is also about I don't want to say Hallmark movie being made. I think it's a corno. I think it's a corno, now that I'm remembering. But basically, they are two childhood stars who have had a little bit of a hard time continuing their career in a traditional sense, and they get hired to work on this movie that is for a new network that is like Hallmark After Dark. And they're both definitely out of their comfort zone, and this is actually, I don't want to say second chance romance because they didn't have an initial romance. However, they are re-meeting and reintroducing to each other. It is a little bit of enemies to lovers too, but only on the one side because the other guy doesn't know that he messed up. I believe that both of our main characters too are plus size, which is really cool to see that representation. And as you can guess from the topic, it's pretty spicy and it's really good. It's really relatable, though still enjoyable. Because sometimes when it's too relatable, it's not fun. But I did think this book overall was a lot of fun. The next up on my TBR is The Holiday Honeymoon Switch by Julie McKay. I'm going to be totally honest, this was an auto buy. I thought the cover was super cute and I bought it. This was the free one that I got from Target. So I know nothing about it, but I assumed based off of the title and the cover that they're twins and they switch their plans for the holiday, and that seems like a lot of fun. I am going to read the back of the book. Oh, I did see that the comps for this were The Holiday Meets The Unhoneymooners, and The Unhoneymooners is my favorite Christina. Is it Christina Lauren or Christina Loren? I always say Loren because it sounds fancy, but I know that like the author's name is Lauren, so. Okay, so I was super wrong. For one thing, they are not twins, despite the fact that they look like they are the same exact person. Oh, okay, they even look alike. I should have read the back of the book before doing this. Okay, so I can confirm it's basically what it sounds like. The two friends have different plans for the holidays. One's supposed to be going on her honeymoon, but she is jilted by her fiance. The other is meant to have a charming holiday stay at an Airbnb. And with them both in different places than they were meant to, they end up meeting new people. But I love stories when it's like multiple stories that interweave into one overarching narrative, so I think this will be a lot of fun. And it looks just super cute. I feel like you can't go wrong. So we are getting to the end of the list already, but of course I have to mention With Love from Cold World by Alicia Thompson. I read this book last year and it was a lot of fun. It's basically like what if there was a Disney World that is all winter themed, and it's not quite as charming as what people think working at Disney World is like. So there's all kinds of drama at the office. This is workplace rivals as well. They get locked in. It's cute, it's spicy, it's a lot of fun, and it's a really different premise than I feel like a lot of the other Christmassy, holiday-y books that we are looking at. The final book on my TBR for this year is How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn. I have seen so many people get this book, but I'll be honest, I haven't seen anyone say anything about this book yet. So I'm assuming that everybody like me is just holding off until we get a little bit closer to the holiday. But from what I understand, this is on everybody's TBR, and I am really excited for it. I actually haven't read any Megan Quinn yet. Every time I do see her books, I'm like, ooh, that looks like exactly something I'd be interested in. I just haven't gotten as far as actually reading one of her books yet. I've honestly been on a romance hiatus for the last year almost, just because I've been working on my book, and my book being fantasy, like I needed to stay in fantasy brain, and I'm wrapping up my next manuscript that's also fantasy right now, so I'm going to be shifting into romance brain for the holidays again, and this is one of my top on the list. Except she's chunky. She's pretty thick for a cute Christmassy story, so that is the one thing that's like a little bit daunting for me, just because I haven't really dove into very many books at all this year compared to what I usually do, but I am really excited for this one. From the back of the book, it sounds like we have our MMC, who is a little bit of a Grinch this holiday season, and a new neighbor who is just the opposite, very into Christmas cheer and making it his problem. It looks like there's fake dating also, and the back of the book specifically says that the competition isn't the only thing that heats up, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that there's going to be a delicious amount of spice in this book as well. But that is not quite my last book yet. My final one, number 12, I saved the best for last. I don't have this book physically, which is crazy because this is my favorite Christmas book. It's actually one of my favorite reads of 2024. 2023? I guess I read it last December, so I guess it was 2023. It was my favorite reads of that entire year. It was so good, and that is A Little Magic by Lindsay Lanza. This book surprised me in such a big way, especially too, like, I like my Christmassy holiday books to be cute. I want it to be fun, I want it to be lighthearted. This book had all those elements, but it also had so much like heart, emotion, deep themes that I happen to be really resonating with, especially in that moment. Our main character suffers from very severe lupus, I believe it was. And at the time that I was reading this, I was like starting off on my trying to figure out my autoimmune issues journey. So I really connected with our female main character because of that. Also, the male main character is just like so, like, he's genuinely a guy that I would want to date, not in like a, oh, my book boyfriend kind of way. Like, he was genuinely just like such a great, sweet guy. There is some miscommunication, but I wouldn't go as far to say it's like it might be the miscommunication trope. I think it is. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, so that is by far not my favorite trope, and I know that a lot of people agree with me on that. However, I think it's forgiven by how good the rest of the book was. And it's something that's resolved pretty quickly. Like, we need it in the third act to help create a barrier, but like it does move on with the resolution pretty quickly. And yeah, this book just really blew me away, and I'm really excited to see what Lindsay Lanza does next because I was not expecting to feel the way that I did about this book. So that is the end of my 12 books of the holidays list. However, I do have a couple honorable mentions that come specifically from Audible, and not just like the books are available on Audible, these are Audible originals. So for those who don't have an Audible subscription or don't choose to engage with Amazon, it's not as accessible as the rest of these books. However, I do want to mention them just because I enjoy them and I listen to them, and if other people are on Audible and want to check them out, that's a great free option that's right there for you. The first is actually my current read. It is Booked for the Holidays by Liz Maverick. I'm actively reading this right now. I think I'm on chapter 4. And it's not a Christmas read, it is a Hanukkah read. However, I will say, like, it's more that the plot is taking place over the course of Hanukkah, less so that they're focused specifically on Hanukkah, but like it is the holiday season, and in this case the holiday is Hanukkah, which I think is a really cool departure from the Christmas holiday season sort of books. So yeah, I'm not significantly through the book at this point, but I am really enjoying it right now. I think the writing is really good, which cannot always be said for an Audible original. But it's great writing, great plot line. Basically, a cozy mystery author passes away at a very old age, and her grandson is tasked with finishing her manuscript, and someone from the publishing company comes to check up on things, and she's like, you can't do that. And he's like, oh, well, like, I promised my grandmother I would do that, so she is helping in secret while everybody is kind of on break for the holiday. And that's about where I am right now, so I can't really say anything more than that, but I am really, really enjoying this read. It is a little bit of a short read also. I'm not sure if it's technically a novella, but it is ranging under 4 hours, so like that's definitely a lot less time than a typical full-length 100,000 word novel. The next one is Let It Snow by Michelle Stimpson. This is one that I actually read last year and then I am reading again this year. It's really cute. I do think it's not the most well-written book I've ever read. However, it was written for audio, and I think that's part of the reason why, like, you can tell it was written to be performed versus written to be read. I also do think thematically it's a little heavy-handed, but I'm never mad about that. I think so many books don't do that. So I always appreciate when a book does take the extra step to talk about those topics and address those themes. So even if it's not done chef's kiss A+, the fact that it's there and they did it, I think, is always really impressive. And that's something that as a reader I really appreciate. And then the final rec is actually a series, and all 3 in the series are Christmas holiday themed. The first is Nick and Noelle's Christmas playlist, and yes, it does come with an actual playlist that you can listen to or look at. Then there's Something About Mary and Along Came Holly. Along Came Holly was my favorite, and then Something About Mary, and then Nick and Noelle's Christmas playlist. I just think they get better over time, even though all 3 were really enjoyable. And they are standalone, even though they exist within the same world, and they're actually covering, I believe, 3 sisters. So if you start that, you absolutely do not have to continue on with the series, and you don't even have to read them in order. I read them out of order. However, you also can very easily listen to the entire series, and they're all very much on theme. And that's it for my Christmas book recommendations. This is my favorite time of year in terms of reading. I think it's just so fun to have like an entire month dedicated to a specific, not genre, as like my chosen genre, especially for this time of year, is contemporary romance, mostly rom-coms. But of course, Christmassy, holiday-y books are not exclusive to this genre. But I so enjoy this time of year diving into these books. It gives my brain a little break. I feel like I'm on a Christmas vacation, and I always have a really good time with the material that I am reading. So this is my top 12, either because I already read them or I'm very excited to read them this year, but it is not the only Christmassy books I have read. And of course, it doesn't even scratch the surface of other Christmas books that are out there. When I went to Barnes & Noble and I looked at the table, I actually had to walk away because I was like, I cannot pick up any more books than what I already have for this season. But if you have any sort of recommendations for any books, but especially for Christmassy holiday books, please let me know. I'm always open to taking on new things, looking at new things, and then planning my TBR for next year. So thank you so much for joining me. If you joined me via podcast, please leave a rating and review, especially if it's 5 stars. And if you're joining me on YouTube, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, share, do anything that you would usually do to support content that you enjoy. You can follow me over on Instagram at Allison_Giordano. I'm currently at Allison_Giordano_author on TikTok. That was a whole drama with my TikTok being hacked, and we do not have enough time for that story. But you can find me there, and you can still find me by searching Allison_Giordano. I'm also on Pinterest, on Spotify, on my own website at AllisonGiordano.com. www.AllisonGiordano.com. That's also where you can get copies of my books that are signed. But my book, A Trace Something Stranger, is available anywhere you get your books. Online specifically. However, you can find them at the Barnes & Noble right now. I wouldn't expect it, but if you find it, consider yourself lucky. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will be back later this month, whenever I post it. We're doing our best over here. Goodbye, and happy holidays.